Hello everyone. My name is Jules and thank you for tuning into my channel, Muddled Words. Today's going to be a really exciting video. But first of all, I wanted to let everyone know that I hope you guys all had a safe and happy holiday season. 2020 was quite rough for most of us, if not all of us in one way or the other. And I, knock on wood, I hope 2021 is a lot better. And it might just be wishful thinking, but I think we can all use a little bit of wishful thinking right now. But to get into the video, I have curated about, I actually don't know how many books are on this list, but basically my anticipated books for the first quarter of 2021. So that's January through March. And of course, these dates are subject to change with the pandemic and all. Maybe quite a few of them will, but these are the dates that I can find online at the moment. So I'm going to split this video up into different categories just so you can skip to whichever one you may be interested in. And let's jump right into the video. So the first section that I'm going to cover is literary fiction. And I have 3 books in this category, and I think I'm just going to list them in terms of release dates. So the first book is Summer Water by Sarah Moss. It's coming out January 21st, 2021, of course. And I haven't actually personally read any Sarah Moss, but her books have made it onto my TBR quite a few times. I just haven't picked them up. I think she wrote Tidal Zone, which I was quite interested in, and I hope I get to it this year. But Summer Water sounds great. It basically sounds like a slow neighborhood drama of sorts. It's going to follow about 12 people, I think it says on the blurb. Yes, 12 people in a neighborhood who are strangers, and basically there's one family that doesn't quite fit in. And I think that kind of, either there's a tragedy or something of the sort that brings these 12 people together, either for or against this family. So it sounds quite interesting, quite moody, and it sounds like a perfect winter read. So the next book is Sophomores by Sean Desmond, which comes out on January 26th. Did I get the date right? Yes, January 26th. It takes place in the 80s in a suburban neighborhood, and it seems to be a slice of life, a very small family drama. Is kind of the sense I get from the blurb. We are following the son, Daniel, who's the only child in that family, and he's doing his sophomore year of high school. And I think his relationship, or his part of the story, is really going to revolve around his parents, but also a teacher that he has in his high school. And I love those teacher-student dynamics, so I'm very excited for that. And then there's also other things happening in the family at the same time. The father comes down and is given a diagnosis of MS, which is difficult for any family. And the mother is pulled into jury duty for a very publicized, high-profile murder case. So kind of how all of these things intertwine, I think, is going to be the focus of this book, and it sounds great to me. And the last book on this list is Milk Fed by Melissa Broder. It's coming out February 2nd. And in this book, it sounds like it's going to be quite a bit of fun, but also emotional. I'm probably going to cry. But it seems to be following Rachel, who's in her early 20s. And she grew up Jewish, but she no longer identifies with that. And instead, she has made calorie restrictions her religion, according to the blurb. So it sounds like she has a difficult relationship with food. I'm not sure if it's an actual fully fledged eating disorder or if it's something that she's working on so it doesn't become an eating disorder. So we'll definitely have to find that out. And it seems that she is, based on the advice from her therapist, taking a detox from her mother, who has kind of instilled those values in her. And complicated her relationship with food. And she meets and starts to fall in love with Miriam, who is an Orthodox Jewish woman, who seems like the opposite of her mother. She's very encouraging of food. She always wants to feed Rachel. and I think they start a relationship. And it sounds like it's going to be great. It's probably going to tackle a lot of interesting issues. I love complicated mother-daughter relationships. I'm very interested in her relationship with food because it's described in a very interesting way on the blurb. And it sounds like it's going to be a very sweet relationship as well. So I'm excited. So the next section is contemporary fiction. And I'm going to start again with the release dates. So one of the good ones, written by Micah and Maritza Mulit, who are a pair of sisters, is coming out on January 5th, and it sounds amazing. It's a YA contemporary fiction, and it follows the sisters Happy and Jenny of Cassie Smith. Cassie Smith, based on the blurb, was a teen activist that was killed following a rally, and her sisters are dealing with processing very difficult feelings, not only because of the actual death of their sister and that loss, but also it seems that they're getting frustrated with how she's being memorialized, and why we need to remember people as one of the good ones for them to actually matter. Like, why can't we talk about their flaws? Why do we have to paint this very angelic picture? And it's not just us, the media does it too, and they set out to go and remember her in their own way, in a way that they think is authentic to her. But again, they don't know the whole story, it seems, and there are definitely secrets and things from Cassie's past that start to come through, and I'm excited to read about how they deal with that, how they process that, and how that changes or doesn't change their thoughts about what would be most suited for her. And it's an issue that I think is very relevant, and it's something that, whether it's someone who's been murdered or someone who's been sexually assaulted, it's something that I think about quite a bit. So I'm very interested to see how Micah and Maritza have written about this, and I hope they bring a lot of nuance to the subject. So the next book that comes out is The Divines by Ellie Eaton, and it comes out on January 19th. It is an adult contemporary fiction set in an elite boarding school, which is like one of my favorite settings for books, boarding schools. I just think it's so fun. You get to explore a lot of frenemies, a lot of friendships, and a lot of toxicity, and I think that makes for a good contemporary fiction read. But basically, it seems like we're going to be following Josephine, who's in her adulthood, possibly her late adulthood, and she's reflecting back to her days at this elite boarding school, which was called St. Joseph the Divine. The girls that are in the school she calls or refers to as the Divines. And the school, you learn through the blurb, is actually closed. It closed while she actually attended due to some event, which I'm sure this book is going to unveil to us. And she's thinking back to her relationships with the Divines, what really went on, and what led to the school unfortunately closing its doors. So it sounds like a fun read. The last book for this section is The Kindest Lie by Nancy Johnson, and stick with me because there's lots of things happening in this book and it sounds great. It takes place and we're following Ruth, who is a well-educated Black woman who has a husband that she loves, and he really wants to start a family. I don't like when people say start a family. He wants to have kids. And she is unable to really give him that because she's actually struggling with her own past, where she had a child in her youth and she had to abandon it. And she kind of has to face that before she moves forward with her husband. So she goes back to her town in Indiana, a small factory town that's not doing so well. And she talks to her family and is trying to get answers from them, but they are kind of letting her know that, hey, we've sacrificed a lot. I think you should just get on with your life. It seems to be the vibe, but maybe in a more well-intended way. And she can't let that go, so she is still looking for answers on her own, whether they like it or not. and she becomes friends with Midnight, who is a white, is that his name? Yeah, a young white boy in that town, and they develop a friendship, and while I assume that they're helping each other out, things start happening in the actual town itself. So there was already racial tensions in this town, but something happens that kind of sets sparks to that, and it becomes a much bigger and more prominent issue. And now Midnight and Ruth are also struggling through that. They seem to find themselves on different ends of that actual event as well. So there's a lot happening, and I'm loving it. There's things that are happening within Ruth and her family and her past, but there's also this larger commentary that seems to be going on in the town itself. So I'm excited to see how Nancy Johnson brings these two perspectives and bubbles together. This is her, I believe, this is her debut novel. Yes, this is her debut novel, and there's a lot to tackle. There's motherhood, there's sacrifice, there's family dynamics, there's racial dynamics and tensions. So I'm excited to give this book a read. Guys, it's Editing Jules here, and rookie mistake. I forgot to film an outro, and my battery's dead, and the sun is down, so I thought I would just hop on and let you guys know. I hope you enjoyed the books that I picked for this list. If there's anything I may have missed for literary fiction or contemporary fiction that's on your list, I would love to hear about it below. I do have a part 2 coming out covering other genres that I didn't discuss here. So if you like this content, please feel free to give it a like and subscribe for future videos. And wherever you guys are in the world right now, I hope you guys are happy and healthy and safe and having a wonderful day.